oh, you're in this like kind of streamer world, like there's you've been on streams with some of these people, and it's like just the amount of like weird worlds that are colliding feels like more than I've ever seen.
Well, you guys know in entertainment, like there's 1 degree of separation between you and most people.
Yeah.
Like one person knows the person that you don't know, right?
Yeah.
And so it's
in Toronto, there's a 1 degree of separation from everyone and Drake allegedly.
Yeah, it doesn't feel that way.
I mean, it's true. I know multiple people who know him.
Yeah.
We all do.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I feel that way about most celebrities in life. So it's not totally surprising because the politics do align. It's weird to like watch it happen on like CNN or something like that. But
yeah,
it's cringe because Kanye's like political opinions are generally pretty nonsensical, and so these people who like claim they want to be serious politically are just attaching to him for clout. That's great for them. Like who's talking about Milo until like?
Of course.
This?
Yo, if you're him, you're like, this is the sickest thing ever, probably.
Yeah,
and Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes was like not allowed on anything basically, and then now he's on a private jet with Kanye West.
It's crazy, right?
Like going and doing all these like press.
Well,
things.
listen, when someone backs up all the crazy shit that you say, like, yeah, you gonna bring them everywhere. So I can see that. Like,
yeah, they're just his yes men right now.
Sure. Well, do you think that like things kind of move fast and then something changes? And I think that like with Elon Musk buying Twitter, it felt like something changed a little bit.
Really, like socially, and then everything kind of spiked from there.
Well, I don't think that's the catalyst, but to me, I was thinking it with Andrew Tate, like. Let's say him getting taken off, and then Kanye kind of being taken out of public discourse, and then Elon Musk kind of becoming somewhat a persona non grata. And it was almost Steve will do it. It's almost, I think of it like with a girl. If imagine let's say Call Her Daddy got kicked off. It's like, okay, maybe they just stopped listening to Call Her Daddy. Then Oprah's gone. Then Beyonce's gone. Like imagine there is an amount where people are like, okay, the whole game just changed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it felt like maybe the last like month feels like the crack that it actually, it's people actually do go to Rumble. And it's not just the platforms like that. It just feels like there's been like a crack in the amount that there is just one thing that people are supposed to think or something.
Yeah. I don't know if it's going to drive that many people to Rumble.
Maybe that's the wrong example, that who knows what the platform is, but maybe.
Yeah, I don't know what it's going to be. I think even Kanye in his recent moves, I don't feel like he's garnered that much more news support. If anything, I think he's just lost a bunch.
No, he's losing it.
Well, you always do.
I mean, he's hanging out like, he's this one of the biggest hip hop stars in the world, and he's like hanging out with a guy who thinks races shouldn't mix.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, how's that going to go over for
you and your kids?
For you and your kids and your general fan base who doesn't know any of this like fringe politics stuff.
I guarantee you if he runs live shows now, it's going to be way less people attending. And so it's like,
well, that's for sure.
It's different though, because like if I think Elon, I feel like Elon's support has been bolstered. If I look at someone like Dave, and
you think he's more popular now?
Absolutely. If I look at someone like Dave, and like when he was going through his stuff with Netflix, I feel like his support went through the roof.
It did.
Whereas I think with this situation in particular, I don't feel like people are like crazy behind him. I think he's just attracted a different crowd, but I don't think it's grown. And so that's an interesting thing that's a bit different about this.
But also one, I think probably interesting part to add to it is like the difference is that those guys didn't get kicked off of anything.
True.
So it's like, obviously, if you're going to get kicked off of platforms, you're going to lose something. It's just a matter of how much.
I wonder though, because I think if you would have kicked Dave off Netflix and he ran his own special, I think it would have sold like crazy.
Oh yeah, he would have been like.
I think it would have sold like crazy. I think
like,
the public can feel the difference between like different forms of cancellation or like different stuff.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like Tate, I feel like his support went down substantially, even though he's like popular.
Yeah, it's also hard to say because I'm sure, I know he says stuff like that, but there's also a part where you're just like, well, it was no matter what, it was going to go down a little from there.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, because you're just
he was everywhere before. Now it's just like
and that can't go on forever. Period.
He's done a great pivot though. He's done a great job pivoting with the whole Muslim stuff. And I'm like, well, that's
he's doing a master
crazy.
class.
Muslim stuff. I didn't know.
He became Muslim.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, that's I actually said that in this. I did a sketch about him last week, and about Jordan Peterson. I was saying if Jordan Peterson was listening to him, but one of the things was Jordan Peterson being like, maybe I should just go Muslim. They can't attack that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was a crazy pivot. Like, it's been interesting to see how he was like rehabilitate himself and like garner a lot of the support that he kind of lost. So that was interesting. But I think with Kanye, I feel like his situation's like very peculiar. I don't feel like black people are with him. I don't feel like most other folks are with him. I think it's just like really anti-establishment people who are with him. Like very extreme.
You don't think that I think there's a certain type of black guy that's, pretty down with that message, but like I used to always say that the super black power stuff and certain white power stuff, it always just ends up with Jews.
Yeah, it does. It does. I think they don't care about the Jewish stuff, but when he was like saying like George Floyd,
No, they didn't like that.
They
stuff.
Didn't like that.
And I think Kanye's already been on the bend on the outward, being ushered out the door. So like once he said that stuff, it kind of wrapped it up for him. I think if you hadn't said that and just said the Jewish stuff, I don't think most people would have cared.
No.
And the black community, it's interesting watching Kanye's progress. I feel like it's just going to go downhill from here.
Yeah, me too.
That's what I feel.
I honestly think too, watching him last night too, I was just like, part of me just feels like the guy just really wants his old life back. Like he just wants his family and shit. And this is like, he's just trying to figure, like, I don't know. He's on this like self-destructive spiral where he's just probably wants his life back from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's like, for sure he's never getting it back, and he's just, I don't know.
I mean, I've seen a million people in my life do the exact same thing, but yeah, like comedian, like that's just even on like a tiny scale in like a open mic scene. You could even, I mean, I can there's probably public people that I know too, but just someone that, one thing happens, then they get kicked out of here, then they get in a fight here, then they get kicked out of the bar, then you get fucking fight with your parents. Like it's just, and then within 6 months, then you fucking go break up with your girlfriend. Then, within 6 months, like everything was, but that's not on a personal level. It's not irredeemable. On like a public level, it's like haunts you forever.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to come back from. I wonder when I see guys like Milo and stuff who like support Trump, but then they're rolling with Kanye. Like that dinner fucked up Trump big time.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, that dinner that he did with Nick, like all the news people are hammering him about the Jews and stuff like that, and he has apologized
immediately.
For it. Yeah, it's interesting.
And he was on bad footing even before that
Yes.
in terms of getting reelected. Like it wasn't like, oh, he's a slam dunk.
Yeah.
Like everybody was like, yeah, doesn't have the sauce, not looking the same. And then just add this to that mix. You're like,
yeah, he had no idea that dinner was gonna fuck him up like that. That was wild. Nick is radioactive, bro.
Yo,
he apologized. He apologized. Trump probably walked that dinner on True Social like 5 different.
There are different apologies.
Different posts.
He didn't even apologize though. He was just being like, I didn't know who these guys were. I was trying to help a black man who was going through mental problems. And then a different one, I was like, I don't know who these other guys. He just showed up with 2 other people, and I told him like, you should run. And it was interesting. He never apologized for it though.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to.
Yeah, and then I guess he talked shit about Kim Kardashian.
There is something to be said about like, apology is not going to be his brand, obviously, but like, if I was meeting with Kanye West and you weren't like crazy tapped into like the last week, and he was like Kanye West boys coming through too, it's probably not who you'd expect.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what are the conversations that Kanye's having with Nick? Be like, so the Jews, like how
you're right.
How crazy in private are like the Jews comments?
Oh,
they got to
man.
be insane.
They must be. I mean, Nick, I can only imagine is probably for him. This is like
so sick.
He's probably like, I can't believe what's going on.
Oh yeah, for him
right
it's
now.
like went from irrelevancy and being deplatformed everywhere to being with one of the great, like biggest hip hop artists of all time, and still arguably is one of the most influential. Right? So
yeah, for sure.
That's wild.
I mean, Kanye's working on that, but
Dude, I honestly,
it's a big W for them. Yeah.
like watch this stuff. And it's like one of the first times that I'll see things, and I'm like, I don't even necessarily like have like a take on this other than like, what the fuck?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yo, that's why I mean, where I was like, it feels like there's something that's changed, where it's like most things like could have been predicted, where it's like this one, no, like if you asked me 3 years ago of the things, like this is the most where you're just like, yo, this feels like someo's like fucking around with the world and just like weird shit's happening or something. I would never have predicted
I think Kanye probably would think the same.
Yeah, sure.
He'd be like,
I don't know, like,
I mean, the fact he's trying to run for president, you're like, dude.
He did it last time. It was nonsense.
Yeah, it's nonsense.
Still nonsense.
And they were even saying on Tim Pool last night, they were like, yeah, the way they were talking about it in the kitchen before the show, they're like, sounds like he's really going to do it. And you're like, well, I mean, if he's trying to waste the rest of all of his money, go for it. Like you're not going to get elected.
Oh, because it's just expensive to
Dude,
run.
it costs $500 million to run for president or something. Like he's not a party, so he doesn't get the party money that the party provides you. It's just his personal money, like Ross Perot or something.
There's no way they're going to fundraise. So these two are just like running it. They're trying to milk it as much as possible,
Yeah.
and then they'll probably move on. Like, there's no way they're going to stick by him beyond that.
No. Well, once
like,
the money
they'll
runs
be
out.
loosely associated, but
Yeah,
they're just trying to
yeah.
come back to it. I don't think it's going to do much for Milo, to be honest with you, but I think for Nick, it's going to do a lot of good for him.
Yeah, totally. If it and like his platform, whatever, if it hasn't already.
Cozy TV.
Cozy.
Cozy
Kanye,
TV.
Yeah.
Kanye might be doing some streams.
Didn't he show up on one of his streams? That shit was funny.
Who did?
I think he showed up on one of his streams.
Kanye did?
Yeah.
Oh, really? I did not see that.
Yo,
Kanye's on, dude. That's a rock bottom for
Yeah,
Kanye West.
that's funny.
You were like, you
I
just
bet.
had 4 shows at SoFi Stadium canceled, and now you're showing up on Cozy TV streams.
Yeah. I mean, it's a weird
Dude,
thing.
I mean, I'll tell you what. Like, we might be able to get him on the Boyscast.
Honestly, I mean, again, we are one degree of separation away from him now because he's hanging out with Sneeko.
One level smaller.